The 70s gave us Jaws, The Godfather, and Star Wars. But hiding in the shadows of those giants are masterpieces that Hollywood forgot. Movies that flopped, got buried, or simply arrived at the wrong time. Some were too dark, others too weird. A few were just too ahead of their time. These are the films your favorite directors studied in secret. Ready to discover what the mainstream missed? Sorcerer, 1977. William Friedkin had just conquered the world with The Exorcist. He was untouchable. So naturally, he decided to remake a French classic about four desperate men driving trucks loaded with unstable explosives through the South American jungle. No supernatural horror. No stars pulling audiences in with familiar faces. Just pure, unrelenting tension stretched across 2 brutal hours of cinema. The original film, The Wages of Fear from 1953, was already considered a masterpiece. Critics wondered why Friedkin would even attempt this. His answer was simple. He wanted to make the most physically grueling production in Hollywood history. And he succeeded. The shoot nearly destroyed everyone involved. Actors contracted malaria, crew members quit. The budget ballooned from $2 million to over $20 million. Friedkin himself called it the most difficult experience of his career. Then came the release date, June 1977, 2 weeks after Star Wars opened. Audiences wanted lightsabers and space adventures. They had zero interest in watching sweaty men nurse explosive cargo across collapsing rope bridges. The film vanished from theaters within weeks, but cinema scholars never forgot. Martin Scorsese calls it one of the greatest films ever made about human desperation. The bridge crossing sequence alone is studied in film schools worldwide. Every frame drips with existential dread. The cinematography captures jungle rot and human decay with unflinching honesty. This is not entertainment. This is endurance cinema at its absolute finest. The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973. Robert Mitchum spent decades playing tough guys with hearts of steel. But nothing prepared audiences for his final great role. Eddie Coyle is a small-time gunrunner in Boston. He is tired, he is aging, he is about to be sentenced for a crime that could put him away for years. And he is willing to do anything to stay out of prison. Director Peter Yates wanted realism that would make audiences smell the cigarette smoke and cheap whiskey. He shot in actual Boston locations. He used natural lighting. He stripped away every Hollywood glamour trick. What remains is a crime film that feels like a documentary about broken men living broken lives. The dialogue crackles with authenticity because novelist George Fiv Higgins knew this world intimately. He was a prosecutor who had spent years listening to actual criminals talk. Every conversation sounds like you are eavesdropping on men who know trust is a currency that gets you killed. Mitchum delivers what many consider his finest performance. He plays Eddie with a weariness that sinks into your bones. There is no redemption arc. There is no triumphant moment. There is only a man realizing that loyalty means nothing in a world where everyone is an informant. Critics praised it, but audiences shrugged. They wanted the Sting's slick con artistry, not this grimy portrait of criminal despair. Today, filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino cite it as essential viewing. The ending remains one of the most devastating in crime cinema history. Night Moves, 1975. Gene Hackman had just won his second Oscar. He could have chosen anything. Instead, he picked a neo-noir that nobody understood. Harry Mosby is a private detective investigating a missing teenage girl. The case seems straightforward, but nothing in this film is straightforward. Every answer opens 3 new questions. Every truth hides a deeper lie. Director Arthur Penn wanted to make a mystery where solving the crime brings no satisfaction. The Watergate scandal had just shattered American confidence. Penn channeled that paranoia into a film where knowledge itself becomes a burden. Harry learns everything and understands nothing. The screenplay by Alan Sharp is deliberately elliptical. Characters speak in half-truths. Motivations remain murky. Connections between events feel random until suddenly they click into horrifying focus. First-time viewers often finish the film confused. Second-time viewers realize the confusion is the point. Hackman brings his trademark intensity but strips away the heroism. Harry Mosby is not a noble seeker of justice. He is a man running from his collapsing marriage by chasing other people's problems. His investigative skills are actually terrible. He misses obvious clues. He trusts the wrong people. He walks directly into traps with his eyes wide open. The final scene on a boat circling endlessly is cinema poetry about futility. Critics initially dismissed the film as incoherent. Decades later, scholars recognized its brilliance. Night Moves predicted the cynical detective stories that would dominate the 80s and 90s. It just arrived too early for audiences to appreciate its bitter medicine. Charley Varrick, 1973. Walter Matthau was America's favorite grumpy comedian. Nobody expected him to play a cold-blooded bank robber. But director Don Siegel saw something dangerous beneath that hangdog face. Charley Varrick is a former stunt pilot who robs small banks to survive. His latest job goes wrong. His wife dies in the getaway, and the money he stole turns out to belong to the mob. The premise sounds generic. The execution is anything but. Siegel constructs the film like a chess match between Charlie and the contract killer sent to retrieve the money. Joe Don Baker plays the assassin as a smiling monster who enjoys his work far too much. Every scene he appears in radiates menace. Matthau completely reinvents himself. Charlie thinks 3 moves ahead of everyone. He speaks softly. He never panics. He manipulates cops, mobsters, and partners with equal precision. This is not a lovable rogue. This is a survivor who will sacrifice anyone to stay alive. The film flopped on release. Critics praised it, but audiences wanted their funny Walter Matthau back. They did not want to watch him blow up cars and outsmart professional killers. Universal Studios barely marketed it. The film disappeared into television obscurity, but filmmakers remembered. The Coen brothers cite it as a primary influence. Quentin Tarantino lists it among his favorite crime films ever made. The final twist remains one of the cleverest in heist movie history. Charley Varrick proves that underestimating quiet men is a fatal mistake. The Long Goodbye, 1973. Raymond Chandler created Philip Marlowe as the ultimate private detective, honorable, always wearing that trench coat. Robert Altman took that character and dropped him into early 70s Los Angeles, where nothing makes sense anymore. Elliot Gould plays Marlowe as a mumbling anachronism. He wears the same rumpled suit throughout the entire film. His neighbors practice yoga constantly. Everyone thinks he is a joke. Critics expecting a traditional noir mystery were horrified. This was not Bogart in The Big Sleep. This was a detective who cannot even keep track of his own cat. The famous chandelier scene where Marlowe watches a gangster threaten him with complete indifference perfectly captures the film's strange tone. Altman wanted to deconstruct the entire noir genre. He shot conversations with zooming cameras that drift in and out of focus. He improvised constantly on set. He turned a classic detective story into an ironic commentary on American masculinity in decline. The studio had no idea how to sell it. Original marketing treated it as a straight thriller. Audiences walked out confused and angry. The film barely recovered its budget. But Altman did not care. He had made exactly the movie he wanted. Today, it is considered one of the essential films of its era. The climactic ending shocked everyone who thought they knew where the story was going. Gould's performance influenced every shaggy detective portrayal that followed. The Long Goodbye is what happens when a genius director decides to burn down a beloved genre just to see what grows from the ashes. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, 1974. Sam Peckinpah was already notorious for the Wild Bunch's bloody violence, but nothing prepared anyone for this fever dream about obsession and death. Warren Oates plays a washed-up piano player in Mexico who learns a wealthy landowner has put a bounty on the head of a man named Alfredo Garcia. The catch? Garcia is already dead. So Oates decides to dig up the corpse and deliver the decapitated head. The studio executives watched the first cut in complete silence. They had no idea what they had financed. This was not a commercial film. This was Peckinpah vomiting his demons onto celluloid. The director later called it the only film he ever made exactly the way he wanted. Oates carries a burlap sack containing the rotting head through the entire second half. He talks to it. He argues with it. He slowly loses his grip on sanity while the Mexican landscape bakes under an unforgiving sun. Every scene feels like a descent into personal purgatory. Critics destroyed it on release. They called it disgusting, nihilistic, and pointless. Audiences stayed away in massive numbers. The film was considered a career embarrassment for everyone involved. But cult audiences eventually found it. Filmmakers recognized a fellow madman screaming his truth. Martin Scorsese defended it passionately. Modern critics call it Peckinpah's most personal statement. The final shootout is pure operatic violence. This film is not entertainment. It is exorcism. The Taking of Pelham, 123, 1974. 4 men hijack a New York City subway car and demand $1 million in ransom. They have exactly 1 hour before they start executing hostages. Lieutenant Walter Garber must negotiate while the entire city watches. This is the blueprint every hostage thriller has copied for 50 years. Walter Matthau plays Garber as a cynical transit cop who has seen everything. Robert Shaw leads the hijackers with cold precision. The 2 men never meet face to face until the final moments. Their entire battle plays out through crackling radio transmissions. Director Joseph Sargent filmed in actual New York subway tunnels during operating hours. The trains are real. The dirt is real. The claustrophobic tension is absolutely real. Every shot captures the grime and chaos of 70s New York at its most dangerous. The screenplay crackles with dark humor that somehow never undermines the tension. Mayor scenes mock political cowardice. Transit worker scenes capture bureaucratic absurdity. Yet the central hostage situation maintains absolute seriousness. The balance should not work. It works perfectly. Opening weekend numbers were modest. Competition from flashier releases pushed it out of theaters quickly. But cable television gave it new life. Audiences discovered a nearly perfect thriller they had somehow missed. The film spawned 2 remakes and countless imitations. None captured the original's grimy authenticity. The final joke remains one of cinema's best punchlines. Hard Times, 1975. Charles Bronson spent the 70s killing people in revenge fantasies. Audiences loved it. Critics dismissed it. Then Walter Hill cast him as a Depression-era bare-knuckle fighter, and suddenly everyone remembered Bronson could actually act. Chaney is a drifter who arrives in New Orleans with nothing but his fists and silence. James Coburn plays the fast-talking gambler who becomes his manager. Together, they navigate the underground fighting circuit where men beat each other unconscious for pocket change, while crowds bet everything they own. Hill shot the fight scenes with brutal honesty. No fancy choreography, no slow-motion heroics. Just 2 desperate men trying to destroy each other. The sound design captures every impact with sickening clarity. Bones crack, bodies fall, crowds roar. This is poverty entertainment at its most primal. Bronson delivers entire scenes with just his eyes. Chaney speaks maybe 50 words in the whole film. Everything he feels plays across his weathered face. You understand his loneliness, his pride, his absolute refusal to compromise without a single monologue explaining it. Critics dismissed it as another exploitation picture. They were wrong. Hill was announcing himself as a major directing talent. His spare visual style and masculine code of honor would define his career. Hard Times earned modest profits, but disappeared quickly. Today, it stands as one of the finest sports films ever made. Bronson never found another role that suited him so perfectly. Who Will Stop the Rain, 1978. Nick Nolte returns from Vietnam carrying 2 kilograms of heroin. His journalist friend convinced him to smuggle it back as a quick money scheme. Nothing goes as planned. corrupt federal agents want the drugs. The journalist's wife gets caught in the crossfire, and Nolte must decide what he is willing to do to survive the chaos he helped create. Director Carol Rice adapted Robert Stone's novel Dog Soldiers with absolute fidelity to its bleakness. This is not an adventure story about smugglers. This is a portrait of how Vietnam poisoned everyone who touched it. The war followed soldiers home and destroyed their families, their friendships, their capacity for normal life. Tuesday Weld plays the wife who transforms from victim to active participant in the violence. Her character arc remains one of the most compelling in 70s cinema. She discovers reservoirs of strength she never knew existed. The cost of that discovery is her entire identity. The film captures post-Vietnam America with uncomfortable accuracy. Everyone is complicit. Everyone is damaged. Everyone is looking for easy money because the system they trusted betrayed them. The climactic shootout at a mountain commune feels like America itself, bleeding out. Critics appreciated it. Audiences stayed home. The film vanished quickly despite strong reviews. Vietnam was still too raw. Nobody wanted to examine that wound so directly. Today, it is recognized as one of the essential films about the war's aftermath. Some scars never heal. The Conversation, 1974. Francis Ford Coppola made The Godfather. Then he made The Godfather Part II. Sandwiched between those masterpieces was a small, paranoid thriller that most people ignored. Gene Hackman plays Harry Coyle, the best surveillance expert in America. He can record any conversation anywhere. He has no personal connections. He trusts no one. He is completely alone. Harry is hired to record a young couple talking in San Francisco's Union Square. The job seems simple, but something in their conversation suggests danger. Harry becomes obsessed with protecting people he does not know from a threat he cannot identify. Coppola shot the film with eerie precision. Every frame feels watched. Hackman moves through spaces like a man constantly aware of being observed. The sound design won an Oscar because it captures how Harry experiences the world. Every ambient noise carries potential meaning. Every silence feels loaded. The Watergate scandal broke while the film was in production. Suddenly, Coppola's paranoid fable felt like prophecy. Here was a film about surveillance and secrecy released into a country discovering its government had been spying on its own citizens. The timing was almost too perfect. Critics loved it. The Cannes Film Festival awarded it the Palme d'Or, but audiences were already lining up for The Godfather Part II. They did not want small and intimate. They wanted epic and operatic. The Conversation earned respectable returns, but never achieved the cultural penetration of Coppola's mob epics. Today, it is studied as a masterwork of psychological suspense. The final scene of Harry destroying his own apartment, searching for bugs, remains one of cinema's most devastating portraits of paranoia. This is what happens when a man who trusts nothing realizes he cannot even trust himself.